FM. My name is Imrana Mahmood, and that was a nasheed by Muhammad Tariq or Ya Hanana. It's a really, really beautiful one. I think a lovely way to start the show today. And I'm really delighted to have a wonderful guest with me. And you can obviously listen on Inspire FM, and also we are on Facebook Live, so you can join us there. So on today's show, I'm not going to waste any time. I'll go straight into my introduction. So I am joined by Heena C. Khan. She is the owner of Mummy's Bubble, the home of felt balls, a part-time writer, illustrator, and all-round creative. Her main interest is to explore and grow through her work, be that words, drawing, or learning new mediums. From this came her platform, Heena C. Khan. Here she talks all about things global, social, and political. You can even shop for her artwork. Currently in the process of looking to publish her poetry book whilst learning new art forms such as liner printing, sewing, and clay. You can find her at heena.ck. And we'll go in a little bit more detail about some of the other work that she's doing as well. So I'm going to go straight to Heena. Say assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you doing this morning?
Nervous. I haven't done this in a while.
No, it's all good. And I'm so excited that we're getting a chance to speak. I know because obviously we've met in person a few times at different events. I think maybe it was the first, did you come to Dharma Book Club, the anniversary event? Ago maybe I can't remember.
Was it a diverse podcast 2-year, I think, anniversary, and then I came to the event, your book club. Yes, then I came to there. Yeah.
I remember. Yes, it was a Sam event. So yeah, for anyone who might not be aware, so there is the Diverse Bookshelf podcast. Oh my God, I hope I've got that right. Yes. So that's that's by Samia, who's a wonderful, also local creative. Right, so why don't we dive straight in, Heena? I guess my first question really is, in the introduction, we just talked about or the mention of Mummy's Bubble and kind of what that is about, but I want to know what inspired your journey with that.
So Mummy's Bubble started around, I think it's about 8 years now, 9 years nearly, or it hasn't hit 9 years. But it started off as a blog, mainly for parenting, because I was a new mum. Well, my daughter's now 13. So that's when I kind of started it on my maternity leave. And it was more of a blog, kind of me just putting stuff down, memories for her and things like that, capturing all of that. And then it turned into a business when my son was born and I was on mat leave. Because I realized actually I didn't want to go back to work. So I needed to do something for myself, and I needed to kind of start now rather than wait any longer. And even if that meant doing something small on the side whilst looking after the kids and going to part-time work, I would then be able to, well, like by the time, they're slightly older, hopefully quit my work and kind of go full-time into something at home, which was kind of my aim all the time, because it's very hard, as you know, like it's very hard kind of juggling motherhood, being a wife, and working outside the house. So I wanted to kind of take one part of it out and have a bit more control over where I wanted to spend my time. And that was around my family. So, so that was kind of where Mummy's Bubble stemmed from. Parenting blog to business, but it has shifted and changed so much over the years. Like we started off with teething products first because my son was teething, so I was like, right, teething products, so I did that. I did like maternity bags at one point, and then it moved on to sewing. So I actually taught myself to sew, which was an experience and a half. And I started exploring options like reversible clothing and things like that, just little things. And sold a couple of bits and pieces like bibs and bunny teethers and things like that. Again, very baby children oriented. And then we moved to felts, and that's what it is now, is currently felt balls. So felt balls are literally just wool items, wool balls. You can see one behind me. So that's our watermelon garland. Especially for causes like Palestine, Sudan, and Congo, and so forth. So we created felt balls and then felt ball items, and then I will then kind of create the final product. So we work with a community of women in Nepal who make the raw materials and then ship them across, and then I will then finish it off with whatever you like, really.
No, that's so great to hear. That kind of journey, and I guess how dynamic it is, and you're right, because that sense of I guess sometimes we get sold this like single story of motherhood, like this is what it is, it's just a fixed routine and you try and bring up your children. But actually, I think guess what you've just shared is there are so many stages of being a parent, being a mum, and it's almost like your business has kind of evolved around that, and that is really amazing, because like you started and now to the point of like you mentioned your children are older, and obviously we're going to come onto this later as well, but how almost the work's become more of a part of when we talk about social justice and like almost artivism, and actually how important that can be as well. But obviously we now are on the book club show, and I always like to talk to my guests about their reading habits or any favorite books and authors. So that's where I'm going to start with. But I want to know, going back to how you were when you were a bit younger. So, we know your journey from when you became a mum and wanting to stay at home, and this creative journey started. But what was the young Heena like? And were you always creative as a young child?
Yes. My mum can vouch for that. I was never sporty. I was always creative. Yeah. No, I was. I loved drama. I loved performing. It was something I wanted to do as a career. Actually, I wanted to become a journalist because I wanted to be in front of the camera. And now it just feels very bizarre being in front of a camera. But back then it was like a dream. And I was always very creative in that sort of format. I used to write plays. I even in like secondary school, I think there was a competition for the Royal Court Theatre to enter your play. So I even did that, and that was amazing. I didn't win, but my school thought I won, so it was a win all round. But yeah, it was I think that, and I loved reading. I enjoyed drawing. However, I remember in school I wasn't really pushed or encouraged. I was told that actually I wasn't very good at it, so it kind of put me down, and I didn't really pursue it. But I did pursue Mehndi. So I did do Mehndi for years, and that was really amazing because before I got married, I was doing a couple of like bridal hands and events and things like that. I was doing that sort of stuff, and I explored it, like putting it on canvas, put it on like candles and things like that. So I was doing So I've always had a kind of love for doing something outside the box.
Yeah, that's so beautiful to hear. And coming back to the point you made about like your mum can vouch for how creative you were, and the fact that you were doing all these things and trying out and being really kind of experimental and in terms of your writing. So was the encouragement there, I guess, from your parents as well? Because in terms of, and I know I'm absolutely generalizing here, but I know there is some truth to it. Sometimes, in South Asian communities, if you want to explore that kind of creative side, or actually even think about wanting to pursue a creative career, there were times where it was like, no, just go traditional. And, so did you experience that, or was it like you just said the opposite for you, in the sense actually it was more the lack of support from the school or teachers?
It was the opposite. I think my mum and my dad would have liked us if we'd gone down the traditional route, I think, but they never said it.
Right.
They never kind of told me and my brother, oh, you have to do this, like this is what we want you to do. It was always left open. And funny enough, like, I ended up doing film studies as a degree, and my brother ended up doing a music form degree. And he went into the arts that way. So we both kind of went into the arts. And I do say to my parents, it is actually because both of them are very creative, and it is kind of just in our DNA. But they don't kind of believe me, but they are. Like, my mum's very artistic. She can draw the most beautiful paintings. And my dad is very creative on the engineering side. So you give him something and he will literally create something out of nothing and give it back to you. So, they have this form, this amazing ability. you know, that maybe wasn't recognized when they were growing up, but they've allowed us to kind of explore those options, which has been really nice. And, you know, and that's kind of encouraged me to kind of do that for my kids. Rather than kind of just kind of closing it down for them. I'm allowing them to kind of be a bit more open to their creative side, because they are also very creative. So yeah.
And it's lovely, like you said, to almost have that in your DNA, and because this is just it. This whole conversation around creativity as a hobby, which is just as important. You know, it's not to kind of say every time you do something creative you have to go into you know, quote unquote, become a professional, or for it to become some sort of business necessarily. So there is kind of a bit of both, isn't it, where it's really great for it to be a hobby, but actually sometimes in a certain context, especially if you want it for yourself, to know it can be a career at the same time, and not to just, because I always come across people who they just will never imagine what they do at home as a hobby, for example, to have that potential. And I think sometimes people need to hear that actually, yeah, this is also a path I can take. So yeah, it's kind of a bit of both. And so you mentioned that you also, I think you said that you also enjoyed reading. So yeah, so what were some of your favorite books then when you were younger, or authors?
I was thinking about this, and just in case this question came up, but that's actually a really hard one. So funny enough, so I absolutely loved J.K. Rowling growing up, because she was massive back then, which is massive now, but sadly she's turned out to be not so great anymore as a person. So, but her books growing up were, like, I think, amazing, you know, because it kind of gave a different outlook. It was a form of adventure, mystery, you know, it had everything kind of going for it. And I did really enjoy those. Yeah, and the Babysitter's Club, do you remember that? Did you ever come across the Babysitter's Club series?
No, I don't recall that. No, what was that about?
It's a group of girls, teenagers, who kind of have a club in their town, and they like a babysitting club, and they kind of go around it, and then it talks about each of their lives and how they interlink and things like that. So yeah, I was into the Babysitter's Club, and Goosebumps was a big one. Yes. Goosebumps was a big one. Yeah, but you know, like, I think compared to now, when I see with my daughter what kind of books she has to her advantage, like, you know, I didn't have any of that. It was just very much, you know, white authors putting their views out. You know, I had no recognition, I couldn't see myself in any of the characters I read, you know, or like, you know, any of the protagonists or any of that. They were just kind of like different from me in that way. But I still enjoyed reading. I loved reading. And that was a nice experience. However, now, you know, I'm enjoying the books that are coming out, because my daughter's reading books, and, you know, like, and I'm introducing all these authors to her, because I'm like, you know what, like, I never got that chance, and that was a massive thing growing up that I missed out on, but you have it, so do it. You know, you don't have to stick to the traditional books that we kind of grew up with. You can, you know, explore so many new avenues.
Yeah. And it was like, because I think we last met at Naseem Abdul Rashid's book launch for Odd Girl Out.
Yes, yeah.
And it is that thing, isn't it? It's like a YA, but we're like, oh, how lovely it would have been to have a book like this when you were younger. We're like kind of there, and obviously
that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
it is bringing out something, I guess, within us that we were lacking and we didn't have. And you're right, like, I've done the same thing. I got like my girls to read it, and it was really lovely to then talk to them about, you know, some of the themes that were coming up in the in that book. So I guess the next question I had was, you, in terms of, obviously we spoke about Mummy's Bubble and some of the creative work that you're doing at the moment. So is there any particular kind of reading that you've done, or a particular book that's kind of inspired some of that creativity that you're doing currently? And it doesn't have to be necessarily a book, but I guess I'm just interested what's kind of influenced that work.
I think over the last few years, I definitely have got very political in my reading. I think maybe it is just the environment we're in. But also my style of reading has definitely changed over the years. You know, I did used to be a romantic reader. I used to read kind of, you know, like I used to have that sort of style of books, but now I have them still. I sometimes do deep dive into them, but I am very much more on the political side. So, you know, I've like, if you look at my shelf, it is like majority of the books are based on that. But, you know, like one of the books my husband actually introduced me on, which had been sitting on our shelf for many, many years till I picked it up, was I've got it here actually. 5 years of my life in Guantanamo. So this one, I remember reading it in January, I think about 3 years ago. And once I finished it, nothing else compared. I literally couldn't pick up a book for at least 2 months. Because it was just mind-blowing. And I couldn't believe it. It'd been sitting on my shelf for so many years and I hadn't picked it up. So, but that was one of the books where I just thought, oh my goodness me, you know, like how is this world getting away with what it's getting away with? You know, and how are people surviving, you know, who are in these circumstances? Like, we really do have it easy, but to put yourself in their place, you know, it kind of makes you think that, would you be able to survive that? Like, would you be able to actually do that? And it's harrowing, you know, reading books like this, but I think it's so important for us to do it. Like, it takes us out of our comfort zone and kind of puts us in a place where we wouldn't experience, you know, or maybe we'll be unlucky to experience one day of some format, but it puts us in that moment to kind of go, well, this is a lived reality for people out there.
And I guess that's when, you know, the indication of there's some kind of learning on like taking place within us is when we do have that feeling of discomfort, you know, whether it's reading something or watching something. And that's not to say, you know, like you said, I mean, you know, you can read rom-coms, and I mean, every act of engaging with creativity is political to some level, and it's absolutely fine to read for pleasure, to read for joy, and you can have lots of things happening at the same time. But it's almost as though, for example, you know, if we take the example of Guantanamo, for some of us who are maybe slightly older millennials, these things were happening when obviously we were still younger, you know, to some extent, and we might have been hearing things on the news, or kind of, especially post 9/11, we kind of understood that the world had changed a bit for us as Muslim communities around the world. But maybe that's the reason, because I kind of almost feel the same, that my readings definitely changed as I entered my like 30s, and now I guess even more so. And maybe that's just it, is because as we grow in our understanding, and now, like what you mentioned before, and those books are now coming out by Muslim authors, or by even non-Muslim authors are writing about these things, we've got greater access. And maybe that is why our reading is a bit more political now, because yes, it's the way the world is. Also, there's not that literature didn't already exist, but as the world's changed and we've been changing with it, you know, it's almost things have been happening in tandem.
And there's more access to it, I think. There's more awareness and more, you know, and so forth. Because growing up, in all honesty, my parents, I think they kind of protected us. You know, they kind of had their experiences coming to this country and so forth from Kenya. So they wanted to protect us from reality in a way, you know, so they kept us away from the political sphere. It was only when I got married and me and my husband started having conversations, that's when I kind of became a little bit more aware about more things political, politically based. And I kind of felt like I was really behind because of being protected in that way. Because I think there needs to be some form of awareness. You know, like you said, like, okay, you hear things, you know, on the media and so forth, but we all know mainstream media, you know, their viewpoints are very biased. And if that's where your sources are going to come from, that's where you're kind of going to grow up understanding and believing. You're not going to look outside of that vortex. Whereas, you know, like with him, he was very aware of the political sphere. So actually having those conversations with him and him teaching me, you know, like what was actually going on was really important, and it has pushed me. And sometimes when I do write certain things, I do get that phone call from my parents going, why did you do that? They're gonna knock on your door, they're gonna think about their kids, like why? And I'm like, they would have done it by now. I'm like, it's fine, don't worry, there's like me and like a million of us out there, and I'm a very small fish in that ocean of people speaking up, you know, like I'm a very little concern, but it still freaks them out. Like, I think it's that inherent, like, internal kind of fear they have that we are a target, like we will always be a target, and, you know, don't put yourself in that position. Whereas like my husband's kind of gone, well, you know, actually speak up, but obviously be careful, but speak up, like, because it's important to have your voice out there. And I honestly believe that it really is.
No, 100%. And I know we're kind of, obviously we're kind of laughing about it, but yeah, I mean, it's like a real fear. And yeah, I think, so, you know, like, bless them. Like, but really wonderful this so the first half. So anyone who's only just joined, why are you joining us so late? We are going to carry on after the break, and we're talking to Heena C. Khan. We've talked a little bit about her creative work, part of Mummy's Bubble, and we'll talk a little bit more after the break about some of the creative designs and kind of what inspires her work at the moment, and obviously we'll talk a little bit more about books as well. So go and grab yourself some tea and coffee, maybe a couple of biscuits, and we will be back in a few moments. Assalamu alaikum.
This program will continue after the break. Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire FM. Inspire 105.1 FM.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Amin Islam.
My name is Tahimiyah.
And keep tuned to Inspire FM 105.1 FM.
Why do Tops Pizza deliver the top pizzas in Luton? For a start, all the toppings are 100% halal, and Tops use fresh dough every day. Then there's the cheese, the highest quality available. And when it comes to food preparation, cleanliness is taken as part of our faith. So that just leaves the taste, choice, and great offers, including buy one, get one free on all medium, large, and extra large pizzas. Tops Pizzas, Wellington Street, LU1 5AA. Order online, topspizza.com, or via Just Eat. Download our app or call 01582 72 5000.
Lee Grade Heating Supplies. With over 20 years of experience, we're the largest independent plumbers merchant in the area, specialising in all types of plumbing and heating, as well as combination boilers and megaflow cylinders. Whether you need a new bathroom or a complete new heating system, LHS is the place. Come along to our brand new bathroom showroom at Unit 1, 3 Chorlend Lane, Luton, to see the latest range of quality bathrooms. Or log on to leegrave.net. We're an Interpart approved stockist for all genuine spares. Our new store in Bedford is now also fully opened. Lee Grade Heating Supplies. Call Luton 84 86 88.
How likely is she to, have another heart attack?
Can I still go to the gym after heart surgery?
Is my mum still my mum if she has a new heart?
When it comes to heart health, no question is too big or small. That's why British Heart Foundation have dedicated cardiac nurses you can speak to by phone, email, or online chat.
Hi, this is Chloe from British Heart Foundation. How can I help?
Search BHF Questions.
Celebrate in style at the Grand Royale, Luton's premier banqueting hall, offering elegance, luxury and seamless event planning. Host up to 750 guests with top-tier catering, stunning decor, photography, videography, hair and makeup, DJ, dance floor and expert event management, all under one roof. Whether it's a wedding, birthday or corporate event, let's witness the happy family moments together. Call 01582 551913 or visit grandroyale.co.uk today.
Hey Sainsbury's, have you got the ingredients I need for Ramadan?
Sure. What about this tin of EE Pure Butter Ghee for £5.50 with nectar?
Ah, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
There's also 10 kilograms of Layla Basmati rice. Just £12 with nectar.
Fantastic. That's plenty to go around.
Save on essentials for Ramadan. Sainsbury's, good food for all of us.
18 plus, nectar required. Available in supermarkets and online, excluding locals. Standard delivery from £1, subject to availability. T's and C's apply.
ما في أنفسكم أو تخفوه يحاسبكم به الله.
Ali is one of those children who, with your assistance, has the honour of being a Hafiz. And that too from only £29 per month. Help UKIM by sponsoring a Hafiz and get rewarded by up to 70 times blessings. For donations, call now or visit ukim.org.
بسم الله قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الدعاء مخ الإبادة. The supplication is the essence of worship.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 10:30.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Book Club Show, or welcome back, I should say, to the Book Club Show, Inspire 105.1 FM. My name is Imrana Mahmood, and on today's show, I am interviewing Heena Khan. And she's been talking a little bit in the first half about her work with Mummy's Bubble, which is doing lots of creative things. And you can check her out on Instagram and you can buy some of the products as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in this second half. I think what I wanted to start off, Heena, on this side of the show was, is there any, because we were talking about some of the reading and how what you're reading at the moment, I guess, has changed because of the world we live in. But is there anything that has really, in terms of your design specifically, been inspired? Like when you think about, I mean, you mentioned, for example, you're sitting in a beautiful room and you've got like the watermelon felts that you've made. But yeah, what else, I guess, some examples of how maybe what you're reading or what you're experiencing at the moment is kind of impacting the kind of your creative flow? I think I can hear you.
There we go. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything that particularly, like a book or anything that kind of has inspired me, but obviously it's just the sphere we're in, you know, and the types of books that I'm reading, they have inspired my work. So like I've got a tote bag with a design for Sudan, you know, with the iconic, you know, revolutionary figures, you know, Salah Ali, and, you know, where she's standing in her white thobe, you know, and her hand is raised. So like I've used icons in that sort of format, and that's my Sudan bag, which is for charity. So I take no profit from that. That literally all of it goes to SAPA. You know, and then a lot of I find my bags that kind of really take off, the illustrations that do take off are the ones inspired with cats. So cats and revolution of some format. They are a very good mix because I guess in a way the cats soften the blow on what you're trying to say, but you're still being able to carry it around or wear it, and you know you're still saying what you want to say. The message is still being heard. You know, I've got this one. This is actually probably the most popular one.
Yes, I've seen that.
And that's based on my cat Nuri.
Could you, anyone who might not be watching on Facebook, just describe what's on that one, because that I know is amazing.
So it's my cat Nuri, and she's wearing a kafaya, and the words around her are, "My favorite season is the fall of colonialism." So, you know, and this is a bit of a winner, this one. And I've got another one, which is my cat Dusky, and she has she's sort of in front of the revolution triangle, resistance triangle. So you know, she's got that behind her, and then the kafaya. So it's interesting, like, to see the reactions you get from just a solitary kind of image to then putting a cat in front of it or within it. And, you know, and the reactions you get from that, it's brilliant.
I'm sure like someone out there could probably do a whole thesis on this, because it's almost like we all love cats, especially Muslims definitely have a thing for cats. I mean, most, again, I know it's a generalization, but yeah, you're right. When you mentioned about something being kind of soft and cuddly, but then having this really kind of powerful like message, and there's something definitely in that. And it's obviously cute, but at the same time, that's what's so wonderful about, I guess, some of those kind of recent designs, like you mentioned Sudan in terms of Palestine, because it is about how can we use creativity to put really important messages out there. And
absolutely,
and that's when I think, our creative expression does become a form of resistance. Of course, it can be a form of joy as well. And I think it's both those put together is so important, maybe currently in this day and age and what we're experiencing. So kind of on that note, really, we see a lot on the media. There's a lot of talk when we see, let's say very well-known artists and celebrities who, some use their platform really well to speak up for justice and others definitely don't. How important do you think it is, I guess, for yourself? Because no doubt people who maybe do use their creative work in this way will be impacted, and that can be a negative impact financially to some extent. So how do you feel, because you obviously have your own business, and how do you grapple with both things and navigate those things, I guess?
I think it is mentality at the end of the day. Like, as Muslims, we know that our barakat comes from Allah alone. So, he provides for us regardless of what we do, and standing up for the truth and using your platform, no matter how big or small you are, if you're selling items or not, or if you're in an influencer sort of sphere, you'll get the money that's going to come to you regardless. Like, you're not going to get anything more, you're not going to get anything less. So I think it is the mentality. And for me, I honestly believe that, like, you need to use your voice. And I have, like, I used to follow a few, like, I'm not a celebrity person at all, but I used to follow a few people that had written, like, were authors, and they'd written books and things like that. And they were kind of like in the influencer sort of sphere as well, sort of sector. But, I was like, if you're not going to speak up, or you're going to send out a neutral message when we actually need you to speak up because you have such a following, you have such a platform, but you're deciding that money comes first or your connections come first, you're not worth my time. And, they're gone. Like, I got rid of their books and everything because I thought, you know what, there's no point me absorbing somebody who isn't going to stand up for humanity. Like, that's somebody that's influencing me in a way. And by me having their product or their item at home, that's them being present in my house. And I don't really want that. So, like, for me personally, like, I don't do it for the money. I know it sounds a bit crazy. I don't do it for the money. Alhamdulillah, like Mummy's Bubble, kind of, that's our organic business. It kind of does its own thing. It's been established really well. So, the other side, the Heena C. Khan side, which is my writing, the illustrations, the more political side, I don't do it for the money. I really just do it for the humanity. I do it for the voice. I do it so people can utilize, the resources I put out there for their benefit, but also to give something back. And that is my aim. My aim was going into this, that if I were to create products, I wanted it to be certain products to go to charity. Like, so I have a Palestinian bag where it goes to medical aid of Palestinians, all the profits. I have a Sudanese bag, which goes to Sudanese American physicians, all the profits, and inshallah in the future, I've got plans for other bags that will then support, like, Congo or the Uyghurs or Rohingya or Kashmir, Syria. Like, I've got other bags in the pipeline that I want to kind of take out. But that was my aim. And really, I think it is a doable thing by everyone, even if it is just a small action that you take. And not everything has to be money oriented. Like, it's nice, obviously, everybody likes a bit of money and extra bit, like, to go on holiday, to do whatever. But, I think sometimes certain things need to stand up above ourselves and our own desires.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is about just being really self-aware and having that awareness of, like globally, politically, everything that's going on. And ultimately, I guess as Muslims, because so much of, our belief is the fact that, everything comes from Allah, that risk is, given by Allah. So regardless of what we do or don't do, we just have kind of that faith in and trust in him. And I think you're right. And also kind of some of the stuff that you were speaking to really make me think about actually how much maybe I've learned personally about the power of a consumer. I know we live in a capitalist, obviously, world, but the point is that, when we talk about things like BDS, or so if whether it's we're refusing to buy certain products or whether we're actively wanting to buy and support certain products, this is it, because we maybe for some of us, you kind of, because of fast fashion, all these things and all the constant, adverts, you kind of become almost a minion in this world, and you're just like, I'm just buying stuff and you just need, whatever. But actually, if anything in the past maybe 2-3 years, I think for me personally is actually we can really be much more mindful and present in our transactions. And again, not even just financial transactions, just like you said, in terms of that exchange between us and maybe what we read or what we watch. And we do have that element of power within us. So you mentioned obviously like your slightly two sides of the way you do. So obviously there's Mummy's Bubble and there's Heena Sihan, which is you have your like Substack platform. So let's talk a little bit more about your kind of writing side. How has, and again, because it is a book club show, I always want to relate it to books. So how has your reading maybe influenced some of your writing at the moment, and how important it is for yourself to use writing as a creative expression as well?
So I've got more into poetry, like actually reading poetry. And so that, and then also obviously just memoirs are a big thing as well. So I do enjoy memoirs, and also like books like, for example, like Tangled in Terror by like authors like Sumaya Mazur Khan, which is, she's fantastic and so eye-opening on what she writes, on anything that she writes really, so like I think I pick authors very strategically of what I want to digest and the type of work I wanted to kind of like digest and learn from. So it has to be semi-educational, but also something that makes me think, something I want to pass forward. Because if I like a book, you will receive it in the post as a birthday present, because I'll think, you know what, that's one, and so I'm one of those type of people that I read, but then I like to pass that information forward. And that's why I think it's really important what you read and what you consume in that regard. And how that kind of influences my writing is, since that I've kind of found my voice a little bit, I feel like sometimes when I'm angry, because I write with my emotions, to be honest, and it's only recently where I've kind of had to relook at that and write on a slightly different angle because I'm working on a couple of projects. So it's kind of making me reassess how I write. But a lot of my work is emotional led, and that can be through what I've read, what I've heard, what I've seen, and then it's just an outpour of how I'm feeling, and it just comes out in words. There's no logic to it. It's just out there on the page. And if I feel like once I reread it and I feel like, you know what, that's kind of sent out the message of how I'm feeling or what needs to be said right now, like with maybe the tiniest filter to please my mom, but
we always have to keep
that in mind. It goes out, and I'm like, you know what, that's fine, because it needs to be said. And like I mentioned, like, I no longer kind of am that comfortable in front of a camera anymore, like as I was maybe when I was younger. That was a kind of a big thing for me. But now, trying to find the time to kind of sit there and take a video and so forth, compared to just writing it out when I can and then just publishing it is just so much more easier for me. So you can read more of my work than you can hear it, which is something I do want to change. But
but I resonate. Yeah, I definitely resonate with what you're saying, and it is that, isn't it? Because one of my questions in a minute is going to be around kind of social media and all of that kind of maybe pressure to be online, etc. But I think it's really interesting in terms of like reading influencing, writing, and a lot of writers do say that they do get that kind of sense of catharsis because you are feeling a certain emotion, and then by putting it on a page, it's helping you process it. And sometimes in the next stage is then, you making decision of, do I want to, am I at the moment just writing for myself? And then at what point do you decide that actually there's something specific I want to share? And I love what you said about, if there's a particular book that you really like, you gift it, because in some sense writers do that with their writing. So whether, you mentioned right at the beginning about, a playwright, in terms of the Royal Court, and it's so lovely to know that actually the art of writing in itself is a gift as well, especially if you do then choose to share it. And it's partly the reason, for example, that we have I run a book club in Luton, because there are so many of us who are at home and reading, and we enjoy this book and we just want to go, oh my God, like you want to recommend it to others. And it becomes a whole movement of people just sharing their love of books, or whether it's writing. So that's really lovely. So that in terms of like your poetry specifically, again, would you say that is what's my question here? I guess because you have a mix of writing is what I'm trying to say. And at the moment are you making like an active decision to want to pursue a bit more poetry, and why maybe poetry rather than any other form? Like I'm interested to know that.
Yes. So actually at the end of last year, I kind of put together my poems and I made a book. It's just sitting on Word, just sitting there. But it was a collection of poems, and I looked at it and thought, you know what? Actually, I want to do something with this. I don't want it to just sit here. So I started doing a bit of research, and what I realized was that I need to be a bit more active. I need to kind of get out there, do a bit more spoken word, because again, the online world is an online world. You don't have that in-person kind of connection with the listeners. So spoken word nights and things like that came on my radar, and I thought, okay, you know what? I have to be a bit more comfortable going out there and actually reading these. Like standing on a stage and doing what I need to do. So I contacted a couple of people, and also a couple of people yourself, you mentioned. I contacted them, and I've ended up with actually a gig coming up. It's an iftari gig with the Milton Keynes Islamic Arts Centre.
Nice.
So I'm doing a poetry reading for them, which will be really amazing. That'll be my first one. So it's not really shaking off the cobwebs. It's kind of going in deep.
You've definitely gone straight in. I love that.
I didn't mean for that.
No, fair enough. But no, what a brilliant way to do it, because and it is. There's something. I mean, I remember still when I first. I used to share with friends, but there's definitely something different about people you don't know, and then and I remember we having that conversation around like open mic nights, what's going on, and because Rumi's Cave in London is, there's beautiful spaces everywhere, like in the UK, we're very lucky to have, but I know Rumi's Cave is my first one, and it really did help, because once you do it once, it's just about that confidence, and that's just it. I mean, the sharing of words, it really does bring people together, and poetry definitely, has that power. And it was kind of making me think, like when you mentioned like Suhaima's work, because obviously she started off, it was Post-Colonial Banter, I think was her first like poetry collection, and it's been really lovely to see actually how her writing is developed from that spoken word kind of scene to really more, I guess, kind of almost transcending certain things, because I think we sometimes as Muslims get so bogged down with challenging stereotypes or try and break down barriers, and we almost sometimes get like pigeonholed. Do you ever kind of experience that in the work that you do? Do you think because as a visible Muslim woman, people might assume certain things about you? Have you had experiences like that? And I guess have you, dealt with those?
I think at the moment with the poetry side of things, I haven't as of yet, because I've not kind of put myself out there to the way I probably could. Whoever's read it, they've been really nice. So, really encouraging, really nice. So, which is really good. But once obviously you kind of get out there to, around more people, around people that, might have a different outlook or so forth, then, you get your perspectives, you get different perspectives coming through. I think on the whole, it's been okay. Even like when I look at just my business side, as well as, just voicing things online and so forth. I've not really come across anything too much. Not come across anything too much that I can kind of pinpoint out. But obviously you have like, I think being visibly Muslim kind of, I think it puts you in a different kind of basket as well. Because what I found was before I put the hijab on, before I was visibly Muslim, let's put it that way, the sphere within the Muslim women's section in business is very much like, I don't know, they kind of out you a little bit. So I never fit in. And I never really fit into that kind of circle, which is such a shame. But that was just my personal experience. And then, but now wearing the scarf and being a bit more, I feel like I fit in a bit more, which is so weird because it's just a scarf at the end of the day. Like that shouldn't make a difference. But that's within our own community, our own people. So I think there's a lot of barriers that we need to break down ourselves to be more inclusive for all Muslim women, wearing hijabs or not. Before even looking outside, because outside we're gonna get that's that's a born and brought up situation living in the West. We're gonna see those barriers, we're gonna see those those things happening, but if we're internalizing them, that puts us in a worse off position. So that's something I would say, like for like people who do run groups or communities and things like that, women who do that, they need to be a bit more inclusive. Like they, it has to be a very big thing as part of the thing, not just like, oh, you're Muslim, you wear a hijab, or, you're Muslim, you don't wear a hijab. There should be two categories because we're Muslim at the end of the day. That's it. That's literally it. We're all here for the same purpose. We're all here to support each other's businesses. It doesn't matter how we look. So that was one personal thing I've seen over the years. So I kind of stemmed away from that quite a bit. And then I slowly kind of come back into it now in the last few years. When I started wearing the hijab, I kind of ended up in those circles, but I still do see it, but I try not to be it. If that makes sense. Yeah. So
and that's almost really good motto to live by, because and you're right, there's so many multiple layers to these conversations in terms of when we talk about like identity and faith, and absolutely, like having that introspection as a Muslim community is really important. So we've got like a couple of minutes left. So what I wanted to ask you is, what kind of message would you like to leave to anyone watching or listening who wants to maybe start out on using their creativity but kind of go on to the more entrepreneurial side of stuff? Like what advice would you have for them? And then just to end of, where can people kind of follow your work, and and if they want to actually buy some of your beautiful things, where can they do that as well?
So I would say go for it, because what I'm noticing actually is that the outside world is changing a little bit. People are going towards creativeness because of the digital kind of takeover in a way. Like our lives are very digital, everything, and it's moving in that direction, regardless of how how we want to feel about it. That is just the way the world is going. So what's actually happening in retrospect is that people want to hold on to art and the creativeness, because AI can't copy that. AI cannot copy beautiful paintings or amazing music or, you know, film or any of that sort. It can't use traditional mediums the way us humans can use it. So we are finding that, or what I'm finding is that actually the future is arts, and there will be a definite space out there for people who want to do something in arts, be it in the educational sector, be it in, you know, in an entrepreneurial business sector. You know, there will be a space there that will be opening up, because growing up, there wasn't as much. There was more influence on be a doctor, accountant, a lawyer, you know, something along those lines. And art was seen as a very, don't do that. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's a hobby, leave it on the side. Whereas what I'm seeing now, especially now that my daughter's turned 13 and we're having to look at her prospects in the upcoming years, you know, is that actually there is a space. There is a space, and I think there will be a good space out there as the years go by.
I mean,
and it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, definitely. And I love what you kind of succinctly said, like, just go for it. And I think that is so important, that sometimes we become our own barrier, and it's important to just be like, look beyond that. So listeners, we were just you were in conversation with me and Heena C. Khan. You can find her on heena.ck and also on Instagram as well. Her Substack is at Heena C. Khan. So yeah, follow her writing, follow her work, buy some of those cute little powerful tote bags, both cats and resistance. So yeah, have check those out. I'll be back inshallah very soon in a couple of weeks, but in the meantime, keep us in your du'as. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
If you are in any desperate situation, ask Allah. If you are in a financial crisis, ask Allah Azza wa Jal.
Landlords, let us take away the hassle of letting your property. Our comprehensive services include tenant vetting, rent collection and service charges, maintenance and repairs. Ideal Properties has 2 branches and have been established over 20 years and have gained a wealth of knowledge and experience.
If you are thinking of selling or letting your property, then speak to a member of our knowledgeable team about a free, no-obligation market appraisal.
We can also offer guaranteed rental income.
Contact us on either Luton 721110 or 696050. Ideal Properties. Service with a smile, whatever your needs.
Hi, I'm Nafi, colleague at Asda Old Kent Road. And this Ramadan, my cooking's going next door